organization. So basically in these 4 years, I have experience on DevOps tools like Git, Docker, Kubernetes, and Jenkins. Also on infrastructure orchestration tools like Terraforms. So basically, I am a part of a team in my organization where we take care of CSID pipeline of the project. So from the scratch. So also I am the part of the team where we provide support for our developing team regarding any installations of some packages and all. Also, I am responsible for the maintenance of the productions servers in my team and me in my organization. So that is the pretty much introduction about myself.
Okay, so okay. So how can you check logs of any application?
Basically, in any server, if we take, so for example, if I take an example of a Linux server in our organizations, we search for the logs in /var/logs files. So in that we can able to find all the kinds of logs of the server. So similarly, if you take any applications like Tomcat, if we take, or any Sonar Cube, so in the where that particular application is installed in, suppose for example, if Tomcat is installed in say some /home/ec2 path. So in the Tomcat folder, we have one folder called logs. So all the Apache Tomcat related logs we can able to find in that particular log folder. Just for an example sake, I took like that. Every applications will be having the log file maintained in that installed folder. So we will be going to that particular folder, and in specific logs we will be checking for the logs of any application.
So let's say we have three applications, three VPCs in account A. Okay. And two VPCs there in account B. Okay.
Yes.
And I want to connect all these VPCs all together, like these 5 VPCs, and each is all the VPCs are in like 3 in one account A and 2 is in account B. I want to connect all these 5 VPCs. So how we can achieve that?
Yeah. Let us take 3 VPCs in account 1 and 2 VPCs in account 2. So basically, all the VPCs, 3 VPCs in account 1, in that particular account, I will be creating one transit gateway. So for that particular transit gateway, there is one concept called attachments in transit gateway. So every VPC which we want to connect, so there will be an attachment we will be creating. So those attachments, through those attachments, VPCs of one account can be connected through that particular transit gateway. So that is one part. In the second account also, we will be creating the same thing. We will be creating one transit gateway, and to that transit gateway we will be creating attachments for the 2 VPCs in the account number 2. The next thing is we will be storing all these attachment details in a route table. So basically in transit gateway we have route tables present. So in that particular route table we will be listing all the attachments. Say for example, first VPC, let us name it as attachment A, attachment B, and attachment C. So these are the 3 different attachments I will be storing in the route table of first transit gateway. Similarly, let us name it as attachment D and attachment E. So these 2 attachments I will be storing in the route table of the second transit gateway. And the 2 transit gateways we will be connecting. So whenever any VPC wants to communicate, so it will refer the route table of the transit gateway. Based on that particular route table, it will come to know so which attachment I should choose to transfer the any data from one VPC to another VPC. That's how we can make an establishment using transit gateways.
Okay. So what is passwordless connection?
Yeah, a passwordless connection, basically, usually whenever we want to connect to any instance, we provide our PEM file and we usually connect. So instead of that, we can establish a passwordless connection using a command like ssh-keygen space -t space RSA. So that is a command for generating a public and private key in our server. Okay, so assume that A is one source server and B is the destination server. So I want to establish a passwordless connection from A to B. So I will be generating public and private key, say ID underscore RSA, that is a private key. Next ID underscore RSA dot pub, that is a public key. I will be generating them in a source, that is A. So next what thing I will be doing is I will be copying the public key, that is ID underscore RSA dot pub in the authorized key. There is a one folder called .ssh folder in the destination system. So we will be browsing that folder. In that we will be having a one key, file called authorized key. So in that particular file, I will be updating the source A's public key. I will be appending that. So once it is done, next time when I want to connect from A to B, I will be just using SSH space. Suppose assume that it is EC2-user at some IP address of the destination. I will be using that, and when we press enter, then passwordless connectivity is established from A to B. So that's how it will work.
Okay. So can you tell me like S3 bucket lifecycle?
Yeah. S3 bucket lifecycle basically whenever you are storing any objects into our S3 buckets, so the by default they will be stored under standard class. So that is where very frequently accessed data will be come and stored in the standard class. But as the time passes, we don't oftenly use those data regularly. In such cases, there should be some mechanism so that the data has to move from one storage class to another storage class, so that since a standard storage class is very much expensive, so in such cases we cannot afford that one. So in a better way is using S3 storage lifecycle, we can our data should be able to transit from one storage class to another storage class, so that the bill what we get for the storage purpose will be reduced. So basically we have S3 standard storage class and reduced redundancy storage class. That is one category. Another one is infrequent access storage class we have. In that we have one zone infrequent access storage class we have, and the last one is glacier storage class, where the data will be stored in a compressed format. So the glacier storage class, it is very much less costly compared to the above things. So that is how it the storage life cycle will be helpful in reducing the cost whenever we are going for storing our objects into S3 buckets.
Okay. So can you please tell me, like I want to create 5 instances, okay, in Terraform at a time. So how we can achieve that?
Yeah, in Terraform we can use for each loop, Jayesh. So in for each loop, suppose for example I want to create 5 EC2 instance, I will be creating 5 different variables, say var1, var2, 3, 4, 5, like that. In that particular variable, I will be writing the first one I will be mentioning is the size, instance size, like whether I want to use T2 micro or T2 medium or T2 large, like that. that in that I will be writing t instance underscore size. There I will be mentioning that. So next thing is in which zone I want to create that particular instance. So there is one more variable like zone. So zone equals, we can specify in which zone I want to use. Suppose for example I want to create it in Singapore zone. I can write AP Southeast -1A, that will be availability zone. Like that we can create in the same, or we can create in different availability zones that that we have to mention. Like that we have to mention for all 5 variables, we have to mention the uh, instance types and the availability zones. So that this particular code we have to put it inside a for each loop, and remaining thing will be as it is, like what is the AMI I want to create, and what is the key which I am using for connecting to all these things. All this code I will be writing inside a resource block. So that's how we can able to create a multiple instance at a time using for each loop in Terraform.
Okay. So let's say if I want to attach a volume in Docker file on local host, I want to create one volume on local host, and then I want to attach it to in Docker file. So how we can do that?
Basically, we have two kinds of volumes. Either the one is a bind mount volume is there. We can use that one, where any local local machine directory, we can make that particular directory as a volume, and we can attach that to our container. That is one way is there. Another way is we can use Docker volumes. So that is another way of creating the volumes and attaching it to the container. And the third one is we usually call it as temporary volumes, so that we can make use of an instruction called volume instruction in our Docker file itself. Whenever we are writing the Docker file, there itself we will be mentioning volume is equal to some volume name. So that is temporary. Whenever our container is stopped, that volume will be automatically removed. But if you want a permanent volume to be created for the container, then we can make use of the bind mounts. So basically, when we are building like Docker, if I am not wrong, Docker run -it space -v, we have to use. That is volume space the volume, which volume path I want to use. That volume path we need to mention colon space the we can say it as the container name we can use space the image name. I guess I'm not able to recollect that syntax properly right now, but this is what the syntax we usually follow for creating the volumes for the containers.
So let's say if I want to push one image to Docker Hub, okay. So what will be the steps and how we can achieve that?
Okay, so first, what the thing is, we need Docker Hub credentials. We should have an account in Docker Hub. First, we have to create an image using customized image. We can create using Docker file. We have created our image. The next thing is we have to log into Docker Hub by using Docker login command. So it will ask us to enter our username of the Docker Hub and the password. So we have to enter those things. And after that, next thing is we have to use Docker push space the image, the Docker image tag we have to specify. Like the tag will be like first it will be containing the Docker Hub ID slash the repository name. So where I want to store that image, colon the tag. So the tag is basically for making us to understand so which versions of the image we are actually pushing. Like for that purpose, for that benefit purpose, we are using the tags. So that is how we are pushing the image to the Docker hub, which is created.
Okay. So can you tell me like what does form.xml file contains?
Sorry, come again, Jayesh.
What does form.xml file contains?
Okay, form.xml, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so it is basically a build file for the Java applications. So in that particular form, whenever we are trying to build any Java program, so for example, we usually use Maven for building the Java applications. So Maven first it will check whether the form.xml file is present or not in our code. It will check. So once it is present, it will do the validation. Validation. It will compile the code. Then it will try to test that particular code. Afterwards, it will try to do the packaging of that particular source code. Means it will try to convert that Java file into a binary file, and later it will validate that. So that is a purpose of using the form.xml file. So basically for converting our Java file into some binary file, like it may be a .jar file it will convert, or it may be the .war file.
Okay.
For that purpose, the form.xml.
My question is like, what does that file contains? What all things
Okay.
that file contains?
Basically, it contains informations related to the source code, what we are trying to convert from Java format to the some package format like the .jar or .war. It basically contains a version or some other details related for the Maven to know what particular format I should convert my Java source.
Can you name few of them? What all things it contains particularly?
Right now, I am not able to recollect that what are its
Okay,
contents.
no problem. So, okay, can you tell me like few ad hoc commands in Ansible?
Okay. Suppose I want to execute any shell command in the target nodes. So I could we could basically use Ansible-all space uh, um, -m space shell. Shell is the module space -a space you can use ls command, so that will list all the files which are present in the target nodes. So that is how we can execute the ad hoc commands. Suppose I want to say check the connectivity of all the target nodes, then also I can use ad hoc command like Ansible-all space -m space ping. That is a command which will try to connect the controllers with the all the target nodes. Like that, we can use the module shell followed by -a. A is an argument followed by any command which I want to execute. We can specify that. So that command will be get executed in all the target nodes.
Okay. Okay, can you tell me like, let's say a file is getting uploaded to S3, okay, S3 bucket. So that file is having like few data. Okay. So I want to get that data and I want to convert it into dictionary and I want to put it in DynamoDB. Okay. Using lambda.
Okay.
So how we can do that?
Okay. Basically, we will be writing a lambda script whose major job is to look for whether any file present in the S3 bucket. That is the first thing we will be writing in the lambda code. If at all the object is present in the S3 bucket, over the next Next, I forgot that question actually. Once we have data in S3 bucket, what is the
Yeah,
next
as soon
thing we
as
have
that
to do?
file is uploaded to S3 bucket, I want to fetch few data from that. Okay.
Okay.
And I want to store that in DynamoDB in a key value tab.
Okay. Oh, okay. Right. In the lambda function, first we will be writing the code for checking whether the data is any object is present in the S3 bucket. So once it is present, we will try to push that particular data onto our DynamoDB. So that particular code we will be writing. So basically, how the lambda function work is, we will be setting the events. So the event is for this particular scenario, the event is the data uploading the data to S3 bucket. That itself is an event. So we will be mentioning that in the while testing, we will be asked the event. So we can specify the event name, and that event we have to mention like object uploaded to the S3 bucket. So once that particular event is get triggered, so our lambda function will be called, and our lambda function will try to fetch that particular data from S3 bucket, and it will be storing that to the DynamoDB. So that's how the scenario works.
So only that event is enough, or like anything else required, like any prerequisites before writing that logic and all.
This is the overall concept I got to know.
Yeah. So what is difference between git reset and revert?
Okay, git reset, whenever we want the already committed code, I want to move to the staging, back to the staging area. So we basically use git reset command. Uh, but in git reset, what happens is it won't consider a particular commit ID to get revert. So for that reason, we have one more option called git revert. So there, if we want to reverse the particular commit ID, then we can use git revert space the commit ID if you give. So that particular commit, whatever the changes we have made to the code, only that particular commit ID will be reverted back. That is the difference between a revert and a reset. Whereas in reset, we have options like git reset soft and git reset hard. So we can make use of these things. So basically in git reset hard, what happens, whatever the commit we have made, so not only the changes what we have done that will be reverted, also the commit ID will also be removed. But in git reset soft, it will not happen like that. Only the commit ID will be removed, but the changes what we have made to the code, that will be remained as it is. That is what git reset soft basically.
Okay. Okay. So do you know what is STU?
STU.
STU. ISTU.
Sorry, come again.
STU.
ISTU.
Yeah, it is used in Kubernetes. So do you know what is that?
Not heard, I guess.
What does underscore help.tpl file does in like help?
Sorry, come
What is
again.
use of underscore help.tpl file?
Underscore help.ttl.
.tpl.
Basically, it is time to live. TTL means
No.
what is it?
No. I'm asking that file name is underscore help.tpl in help chart.
Oh, okay. I guess I have not come across that particular concept. I will
Are you
I will
using
go
help?
through it.
What is help? Are you using help in your organization?
Yeah, yes, we have used, but not extensively in the project we have come across. But I have bit knowledge regarding that Helm charts. Like it is like a package manager where we try to combine many manifest files into a single package. Not come across these concepts actually. I will make sure I will go through.
Are you using Jenkins in your organization?
Yes, we are using Jenkins in our organization.
Okay, so how much you will rate yourself in Jenkins?
How much?
You will rate yourself in Jenkins?
Yeah,
5.
I can rate in 5, so I can rate 3.
Okay. Okay, so like what type of, like which type of pipeline are you using? Which type of Java pipeline are you using?
Actually, we are using pipeline jobs basically in our projects we are using.
Okay, so can you explain like your stages or how does your CI/CD looks like?
Yeah, basically for the projects, our CSID pipeline has basically 4 different stages. We have divided like that. The very first stage will be the Git checkout stage, where we try to fetch the code from the Git repository. We can write in the steps of the first stage, like Git space the repository URL, so that will try to fetch that our code from the Git repository. So the next stage would be the build stage. So basically we are using Docker for building purpose, so in our projects and all. So we can use the shell command like sh space docker build space -t, that build name. So usually the build will be a docker hub id /repository : the tag space dot. So that's how it will try to build our code. Once the code is built, so the next stage would be the pushing to the artifact. So in our organization we use docker hub. So to that we are pushing the image whatever it is generated. So once again we will be using the shell command here, shell docker push space that image name. So the image name is like this: docker hub id /repository : the tag. So whichever version of the image we want push, that will be pushed. And the last would be the deployment stage, where we deploy our the application onto the Kubernetes. So for that purpose we use kubectl set image space, since it is a deployment. So we are using the controller set deploy space that deployment name, whichever the deployment we are running, so that deployment name we are specifying, which is followed by which particular image we are deploying, that we have to mention there, image is equal to the image version which we are deploying, that we have to specify. So if at all we want to record this particular thing, we can specify --record, so that will get recorded which version we are currently deploying. So these are the basically the steps we follow in our CI/CD pipeline for our projects.
So what kind of trigger you use? Trigger type?
Basically we use webhook triggers as and when the any code is uploaded by the development team. So that will be through webhook trigger our CI/CD pipeline will be get triggered, and it will fetch that particular code from the Git repository. We can also use poll SCM also, but this is the preferred trigger we usually follow in our organization, webhook triggers.
Okay. So what is tense and tolerance in Kubernetes?
Yeah, okay. Tents, suppose whenever we are whenever any pod is created, so suppose I don't want my pod to be placed onto particular node. In such case we can make use of the tents. That is what a tent indicates. Toleration is, suppose you have already tainted one particular node, but still you want your pod to be created on that tainted worker node, then we can make use of tolerations, toleration. We can specify the toleration name, I guess key it is. Next is the key value, like for example taint, and the next is the schedule, I guess, whether the what kind of a taint we have created for that worker node, like no schedule or no execution, like that. What we have used for that particular worker node, that we have to mention here. That will work. So that's what toleration is. Even though any worker node is tainted, we can still able to place the pods on that tainted worker nodes. That is tolerations.
Okay. So let's say I have one node, okay, worker node, and it is having some special hardware, okay, which a particular pod is required. Okay, so I want those pods to get scheduled on that node only, on those node only, particular group of nodes which is having that special hardware. So how we can do that?
Basically, we can first thing is what is we will be labeling the nodes. Suppose for example, assume that I am using certain architecture in my node, so we can label that particular node based on that particular architecture. Say for example, x86 architecture. Just for an example sake, I will be naming that particular worker node. So next thing is what I can manually place that particular pod onto that particular label. So like while writing the manifest file, we can use that particular specification, a spec colon that particular label name. If you specify, then the pod will be get placed on to that particular label. So whichever hardware we have named it, so on that particular hardware worker node itself, our pod will starts to run. So that's how we can achieve it.
Okay. So let's say a few pods are running, okay. Two pods are running and those are associated with one secret. Already I have configured that secret in the manual test, and those pods are running. Okay. Now I went and I changed that secret. Okay. In that password was there. Okay. I changed that password and all. Then what do you think that what will happen to that pod? Will it run or what will happen?
If that particular secret is changed, then it's better we try to restart the particular pod, so that those changes will take into effect for that particular pod. I'm not sure actually in this concept. It might work.
Okay, that's okay. No problem. So it was nice talking to you. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jesh.